Thanksgiving. Having it, yeah.
Everybody's coming to our house.
Nice.
Because the tree's coming.
She's not, she said she's not watched.
Niece is coming.
After the,
You know about her
the
husband,
item number two,
but her father's
I have
coming.
two requests that I wanted,
We have me and my wife,
discuss. I just don't know if it should be.
her husband,
Meeting or.
then another niece with her.
Request that-
Oh, wow, that's a good size.
Yeah,
Would be
her
given a,
fiance kind of, asked her to marry now, the day before.
email address.
So,
Rather than using personal.
You have grandchildren?
addresses.
no,
No.
I can't, no, no. Hopefully she-
Oh,
yeah, just
oh, good.
straightened out now.
Do you cook?
I wasn't the most of the cooking.
Yeah.
I help.
That's it.
Thanksgiving, I do a lot of it.
Yeah, good, good.
If there, the way I understand it is that.
There'll be a lot of,
They can submit
Yeah.
information. Something.
Yeah,
That's a good size car.
yeah, probably 14, 13.
That's a good size.
we can accept any information up until the approval,
Ooh, I'm not sure.
but
Ren,
there's a check.
can they come in and do a video presentation, do you know?
Or should we just do the board? So unfortunately, they can, but someone has to be here to unlock the door, so we have to like pre-arrange it. So that's why I heard the board just.
We should have
Um, But I wanna try to help avoid, is coming to the hearing, and there being like set of plans.
You're welcome.
Supersede the packet that was sent to the board.
Yeah, so they can revise it each time.
I have gifts for you guys. Christmas
Well, this
gifts.
is, I think there's.
The appeal to Baird Avenue.
Ah.
You have
You've been
to-
served.
Oh, no kidding, no, I'm quaking.
That says that you're scheduled on the board. We can meet that and. we can schedule it.
Thank you. Here you go, Steve.
Change their-
No, that's yours. It has your name on it.
Oh, it does? Oh, okay.
Oh, approved.
Ooh, boy.
See,
Angelic.
Yes.
You bought that's someone from submitting revised plans for a meeting, or for like a deadline. We can talk about it.
I mean, you can continue at any time if the board feels that, but for advertising purposes, it would need to be
Got it.
48 hours for
Answer?
advertisement.
Do you have to fill this out?
No, I filled everything out. This is
Oh.
just for your reference.
Oh, okay.
Blue.
Okay.
Warren, this is yours. This is the appeal for Baird Ave. You guys can do nothing with it, but it's just for your reference if you want it. You,
That's what I like.
I already submitted the answer. Everything's fine. I just got a whole bunch of copies, so
Thank you.
The attorney that represents him in front of the board.
it's, there's two. It's him and Sean something.
Okay.
But yes, they hired a firm for the appeal.
Okay.
Yeah,
I wonder if I was a voice Scout with this gentleman.
you probably were. He's like a little older than me. Maybe like 35.
So that's weird. It
He has a
references,
dad.
references Wendy's name. No, no.
Yeah. Correct. She's a member of the board or no?
She's not.
The approval of Macomie Street. Fix that question, that's.
At the time when? 2 weeks ago?
No. Dave's been chair for most of the year now.
No, wait, this is repaired.
Yeah, it's for Baird Ave.
Oh, yeah. For Macomie, her name is on it.
Oh, yeah, no. Yeah, you guys, that's just for your reference. You don't have to do anything with it, but
Okay.
this is the court summons for Baird Avenue. You do not need to appear. You don't have to do anything with it. It's just for your reference.
Can I ignore it? Because name is spelled wrong.
Yes, you can. I like your loophole, Warren. I should start having them spell my name wrong too.
Absolutely. All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Town of North Providence Planning Board hearing. The date is November 12th, 2025. We're located here at 2000 Smith Street, North Providence, Rhode Island. May you please join me in stating our Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for that. Good evening, everyone. We will begin tonight's meeting with a roll call of attendance, starting to my right.
Lou DeLucchio.
Warren Nucitelli.
David Parenti, Chair.
Gary Arasian.
Angelica Bovis, Solicitor.
Steve Patassi.
Brent Wigan, Town Planner.
All right, good evening, everyone. The first on tonight's agenda is approval of the minutes from October 8th, 2025. I trust that everybody has had a chance to review those meeting minutes. The agenda item is to accept the meeting minutes for approval. Gary, I do know that you were not present for that
Correct. Those are
meeting,
abstained.
so we will recuse you from the,
Those are abstain.
yep, from the vote. I believe Lou, Warren, myself, and Steve were all here. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Steve makes the motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Lou seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. The ayes have it 4-0. Again, for the record, Gary did not vote. And the meeting minutes are approved. One question for the planner. Have we seen the meeting minutes for September's meeting yet?
Yeah, you should have. I believe weren't they reviewed at the last meeting,
Mm-mm.
or did we continue them? Oh,
I don't think,
apologies,
I don't think we've received them yet.
in that case, we'll do this for the next meeting,
Okay,
What date was that?
September 9th.
September 9th.
yeah. Okay, we have one more agenda item on today's meeting. It's agenda item number 2. The address is 0 Manchester Farm Road. The plat lot number plat 24C, lot 5, zone residential limited, RL13, excuse me. The applicant owner is Jovenis MGN, 4 Stephanie Drive, Lincoln, Rhode Island. The description is a public hearing request for unified development plan review consisting of preliminary plan review for a 2-lot minor subdivision proposing no street creation and a 2-lot frontage variances, one being 59.73 feet, excuse me, for the proposed lot to the west and 47.63 feet for the proposed lot on the east. Since this is a unified development plan review, I do believe we need to take a vote to open the public hearing. Am I correct in that process?
You can do that now or after.
You would do it now.
We should do it now. So Gary makes the motion to open the public hearing. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Steve seconds. All in favor to open up the public hearing, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? I'm hearing none. Ayes have it 5-0. The time is now 6:08 PM. Good evening. For the record, please state your name and your credentials, please. We are taking meeting minutes of tonight's meeting. Our stenographer is remotely viewing the meeting. So if you can speak into the mic.
Certainly, Mr. Chairman, thank you very much for your time. Members of the board, for the record, my name is Paul Carlson. I am owner and professional engineer with Insight Engineering Services with offices at 501 Great Road in North Smithfield, Rhode Island. Our attorney for this project, who probably stuck in traffic, will be here shortly, but in the meantime, I will go through the particular subdivision and request for this particular project. As you stated, Mr. Chairman, this is for a minor subdivision and for a unified development plan application for a two-lot subdivision located at the North Providence and Lincoln Town Line off of Manchester Farm Road. The assessors plat as identified as 24C, Lot 5, has an area of about 1.7 acres of land located within the RL 13 zoning district. This particular property has a unique situation in that it has frontage on two sections of Manchester Farm Road. One is off of a cul-de-sac along the eastern side, and then Manchester Farm, which ties into Stephanie Drive, which goes into Lincoln along the west edge of this property. This particular lot actually was part of the Heritage View Estates subdivision, I believe done in late 60s, 70s. And this has been in ownership of Mr. Engine for a number of years. And his request is to create two lots, one fronting on the Manchester Farm Road section on the eastern edge. That would have 27,761 square feet. And the parcel B would have 46,285 square feet, and that would front along the Manchester Farm on the western edge. As you had mentioned, because of the subdivision and the unique features of this particular parcel, we would be requesting a variance for the frontage of both of these lots. And as Mr. Chairman, you had mentioned, the Lot A, which is the lot to the east, has an existing frontage of 52.37 feet. And as the zoning requirements requires 100 feet, so therefore we'd be seeking a variance for frontage of 47.63 feet for Lot A. Under Lot B, which has just the 40.27 feet of frontage along Manchester Farm, again requiring 100 feet of frontage. This would then require a variance of 59.73 feet for variance on this particular lot. The request of these are generally in a situation where these present a very unique parcel with two frontages, and the parcel does contain a detention facility that was part of the Heritage View Estates. This particular drainage structure does not have or does not meet any of the Rhode Island DEM requirements for wetlands. This is a standalone situation and therefore does not have any buffers associated with that drainage structure. So we have not at this time been before or submitted our systems or designs to Rhode Island DEM at this particular point. I will also note that Manchester Farm along the eastern edge does have sewer and water associated with, and that would be a connection that we would be making for that particular home. And the Lot B actually does not have septic and water along the Manchester Farm Stephanie Drive, and therefore would require a septic system design and approval under Rhode Island DEM regulations. But those would certainly be forthcoming after an hopeful approval of this board. And at this time, I'd be certainly happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Sure, I have a few questions. Did you just state that Manchester Farm Road West does not currently have a municipal sewer system?
That's correct. The western edge, we have not, Mr. Amjon has requested information from DPW regarding the potential connection to sewer. He was made aware that the western edge does not have sewer on that side.
And you did state that right now you are unaware that there are any DEM jurisdictional requirements or uh, standards for the drainage pond. Have you reached out to DEM and requested a preliminary determination?
Yes, I did, and I actually spoke to the planner. He had actually asked that question. I did talk with Marty Winsek regarding this particular issue. I know Brent had asked for a letter, and I will am obtaining that particular letter from wetlands to state to that particular item.
Okay, so you have a verbal response from DEM, but you have yet to receive anything in writing from DEM.
That is correct.
But you will be submitting, you do plan on receiving something in writing from DEM stating that they have no jurisdictional
Absolutely.
review for the drainage pond, and they will do not consider that drainage pond wetlands.
Yes.
I've had the opportunity to, develop and work on projects on property where wetlands don't appear on any the DEM's websites or the GIS. But in my due diligence for developing properties, we've gone through the exercise of actually hiring a wetlands biologist to help provide not only the owner with assurance of their property and wetlands, but also to assist with the process with DEM. Has a wetlands biologist been hired by the property owner to help understand the characteristics of the drainage pond in determining whether or not the drainage pond could be considered wetlands?
To answer that question, yes, Mr. Amgen had hired Scott Rabideau. I'll honestly, this project has been ongoing for a number of years, specifically through the works of going through Lincoln before we can even come before this board. But as part of that process, Scott Rabideau from NRS was hired in order to review this particular site and also provide his take on this exact situation. And in his opinion, he also states that this is more of a, we'll call it a subject area subject to flooding, and therefore does not have any buffers, but in itself meets the criteria, does not meet the criteria from wetland, but only from an area subject to flooding.
Okay, do you have any documentation that Mr. Rabideau had provided the owner? Has that been submitted to the planning board?
I'm not sure if it has, but I do have a copy that I can certainly provide at this point.
Yes, that would be
Okay.
very beneficial. Thank you.
What was that document?
Can you state what the document was?
That is the actual, just the letter of findings and the report from Scott Rabideau, who is since retired, since that particular letter is going up, but his findings on his review of this particular area that was mentioned.
And what was his review of when you say his review of the year, what was he reviewing?
He was reviewing it specifically to determine if there were any presence of wetlands on that particular property. And his statement is that while that area is defined, it is not a wetland and only an area of subject to flooding, and therefore it has no buffers assigned to it.
So that letter was submitted to DEM, and we're going to wait for that letter to come from DEM, whether or not to confirm that, correct?
Well, that I had a pre-application with Marty Winsek, and that specific letter was submitted to Marty for his
Marty?
review, and then that verbal is what he told me. But I'm obtaining the letter from Marty.
Who's Marty?
Marty Winsick is the Director of Wetlands at the Rhode Island DEM.
So we're gonna wait for a letter that he's gonna confirm that.
Yeah,
Fine, okay,
that's fine.
all right.
So Brent, once that letter gets to me, do I state that it's been submitted for the record?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Give us a moment to pass the letter around.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, so I have here a letter prepared by Natural Resource Services, Inc., dated November 6th, 2020, addressed to Mark Nyberg, PLS Insight Engineering Services. And it is prepared by Scott Rabideau, PWS Principal. And that's being, and it's regarding freshwater wetland delineation on plat 24C, Lot 5, Manchester Farm Road, North Providence, Rhode Island. Thank you. Everybody a chance to get through that while we open it up for fellow, I know I took the reins there, but do any of my fellow board members have additional questions to ask our civil engineer here? Paul, can you work us through understanding of the drainage easement and the exact purpose of the easement? Knowledge of, historical knowledge of what the easement's, sole purpose is. Is it just to collect water? The drainage pond, is there an easement there for access to the pond to maintain it? Can you
Sure.
brief us on that? Have you done your due diligence with the town on? Go ahead.
Certainly. As I mentioned, this particular parcel in its entirety was part of the Heritage View Estates. This parcel was owned as part of that Heritage View and was the only parcel within the North Providence section. Everything else was in Lincoln. This drainage pond is one of 3 drainage ponds part of Heritage View, but this particular drainage pond handles about 3/4 of the Heritage View subdivision. This parcel in its original design encompassed the entire parcel as the drainage easement. It was more in general put on because there was no need from a development standpoint at that time in the 70s to create this as a lot. Subsequently, in the last 2 years, we've been before the town of Lincoln to discuss this particular issue and the fact that this lot was encumbered completely under a drainage easement and then the necessary requirements of an easement. The drainage pond does not need, for an easement is not necessary to encumber a large area. Only that area that's going to ultimately flow and or be the part of the section where drainage gets into a large storm event. We actually went through a whole hydraulic design for the town of Lincoln to determine what that elevation is and how it met what the original design that was done by Mr. Ash back in the sixties. And the town engineer in Lincoln concurred, and ultimately we were able to modify the easement as a part of record that you see on the plans before you. And that encompasses the drainage easement, the outflow structure, and also provides a access to that easement off of Manchester Farm. So there is access, and as part of the record, this will be maintained as part of a homeowners association. And that's basically the history on this particular lot.
So can I follow
Right.
up on that?
I got a couple.
Go ahead, David, I'm sorry.
Yeah, can you, do you mind bringing either the site plan or the survey closer to the board and maybe just with your finger, just trace out where the easement actually is?
Sure. So there's a 20-foot easement that comes off of Manchester Farm,
Yep,
and then it actually runs on the rear of where the proposed work is, and then runs right around towards there's an embankment that impounds the drainage structure. There's an outflow structure, and that's encumbered, and then it runs up and then ultimately ties into this. So this drainage area encompasses specifically that drainage area and its 100-year storm flow.
okay. And I guess to summarize the evolution of the easement, at first, the easement was the entire property, and that this drainage pond was created as a drainage structure for development in Lincoln. And it just so happens to be on North Providence property.
That's correct.
Since then, it sounds like your firm prepared drainage calculations to determine whether or not that drainage easement should encompass or encumber the entire property as it once did, or if it could get smaller. And your firm, a company, prepared those calculations in tandem, had it reviewed with Lincoln's engineer.
Mhm.
And the Lincoln engineer deemed your calculations to be adequate to reset the boundaries of the easement.
That is correct.
Okay. Understanding that the easement and the drainage structure primarily resides on North Providence land, did you go through that exercise with North Providence at all?
The only thing as far as the exercise in reducing,
Correct.
are you speaking?
Yes.
We did not from the North Providence side because the drainage easement was part and parcel to the subdivision that was specifically in Lincoln and the easement had no pertains to North Providence in itself. It was only tied to the subdivision, and therefore Lincoln had the authority to make that change for the drainage easement.
Okay. In theory, I would disagree with that. Not only because a majority, I would say probably 90% of what I can depict on the survey is the drainage pond. Is in North Providence, just on the pure, I don't know, the geometry. But the topography of this property seemed, and stop me, I'm assuming, stop me if I'm incorrect, but the topography of this property is low on the North Providence side. And the existing outlet structure is on North Providence property, correct? And that outlet structure looks like it connects to an existing culvert, which I can't tell, but it looks like it may daylight or discharge to Plan South, which is just above lot 24C, I'm sorry, plat 24C lot 1184, which is in North Providence. So so just by the geography of this drainage structure, most of it resides in North Providence. The topography flows towards North Providence. And in the event that the drainage pond is full, there's an outlet on North Providence property which discharges into the town of North Providence. Am I reading all of that correctly?
So far, you are absolutely correct.
Okay. Okay. Gary, I interrupted you. Do
That's
you have
all right.
any?
Well, I got a few questions.
Go right ahead.
So I'm not sure if these are in any particular priority. But Mr. Carlson, you said that drainage calculations were prepared. All right, so I noticed on the plan, you've got a PLS stamp by Mr. Mark Nyberg. I don't see a PE stamp on it though.
Because this is a subdivision, the subdivision would be stamped by the PLS. But I can certainly add my stamp to this particular without any problem.
So I'd like a PE stamp on it also.
Certainly.
Again, these are just softball questions right now. Also says on the right date, August 16th, 2024. So just curious why there isn't a revised date. So what's that date reflecting? Reflect.
24 was actually the dates in which these were prepared as part of the package that originally started with Lincoln. And then subsequently, that particular date had not been updated to when we submitted to the planning. So that could be updated.
So you say, you mean to the North Providence Planning Board?
Excuse me?
So you said it wasn't updated for the board, you mean that?
That is for this board,
All right,
yeah.
so two housekeeping matters, so if you could reciprocally ask if you could put your PE stamp on the plan, and also if you could put the updated date on that, okay. So, you talked about the easement. So there's a fee simple question here and an easement question. So the easement can encumber whatever you want it to encumber, which allows one to go onto the property without being cited for trespassing. So when this parcel that is proposed to be subdivided, that in fee simple was part of the Heritage View subdivision, correct? At some point.
That's
Okay.
correct.
So, and that's perfectly fine that an easement originally encumbered the entire parcel. But the ownership of that is still part of the subdivision. So, and that was dedicated for a stormwater management basin. Whether it's encumbered completely along the entire perimeter of the property, or now it's being reduced to compressed just around the basin itself. So, but in fee simple, that is part of the subdivision. So how is that then being subdivided, regardless of the easement? The easement really has no bearing on this. All that does is it gives either the town of Lincoln and the town of North Providence Public Works to go onto it and maintain it. But if that's still owned in fee simple as part of the subdivision, because if you sold this, then that stormwater basin really goes away because it's not part of the subdivision. So how do you subdivide that parcel if it's a fee simple portion of this Heritage View subdivision that was built or developed in the 60s or 70s? On what authority can you subdivide that when it's dedicated for stormwater management, notwithstanding the easement?
And I won't speak, and unfortunately, counsel's not here to answer that specific, we'll call it legal question on this. I can only speak to the fact that our easement was reduced, as you mentioned, Mr. Rajan, to really confine the easement, which is just for that drainage easement. How and what happens as far as future development and who has specific ownership of this. I believe this is all done under, going to be handled through an HOA. Again, I don't want to speak completely to that, and unfortunately, legal's not here to answer that. But it doesn't change if these two parcels are split, there is an easement on either parcel A and or on parcel B. It doesn't change the fact that they can still access and manage that drainage easement from both parcels.
That's not my question.
Okay,
So you're talking about the easement, I understand,
Mhm.
for access for maintenance, the HOA, the homeowners association, that's for maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what I'm asking. What I'm saying is in fee simple, this lot in totality was part of, again, the Heritage View subdivision.
Mhm.
On what authority do you get to subdivide that and say, I want 2 more house lots on it, when its sole purpose is for stormwater management? I think what you can do is carve out that lot, is carve out the portion that is now an easement. I would suggest you carve that out as a separate lot. And then you have 3 lots. The lot that still stays with the subdivision. So it's not by easement, because again, the easement is just to allow one to access it.
Mhm.
It's to allow for maintenance. So at the very least, I'm looking at, you probably need 3 lots, the 2 proposed house lots, which I also have some questions about. And then, because that's a fee simple transaction.
okay.
And also, if you made a 3rd one that's in the center of that lot, which would be now, instead of an easement, would be the fee simple subdivision of that. So that continues in perpetuity as part of the approved subdivision. So you don't have to answer it, but that's. a big-
I
that's a
understand
big
the
concern.
point that you're making. I would have to,
Yep.
on council on that particular, question. I know that in many different subdivisions that we've done and certainly Rhode Island, there are encumbrances or what we'll call easements on multiple properties. And not just a dedicated parcel of land for the purpose of drainage. And then we do have easements and drainage structures on multiple lots in many subdivisions. But I can certainly ask that question of council without any
Of
problem.
course you do, but again, the question is about fee simple interest, not the.
And I'm
Okay.
not familiar with
No
that
worries.
specific,
That's
so I can ask that.
Okay,
Yep.
That's up to the
Um,
chair.
Is it pertaining to the specific question? Come right ahead, please.
He's the owner.
Just state your name and your address for the record, please.
Hovannes MGN, 4 Stephanie Drive, Lincoln. I also go by John. The attorney will be in about 12 minutes. He ran into some traffic issues and so forth. I own the property in Lincoln as well, so the entire property is mine. Just to address the question about the development.
So when you say the property in Lincoln, what do you mean by the
The,
property in Lincoln?
Do you mean the adjacent property in
There's a-
Lincoln for
Correct.
Stephanie?
So that when I purchased the property in Lincoln, the entire property description was 1 lot.
What, can you say specifically where? Because that's critical. When you
Can
say
point-
the
Paul,
property,
point to the, yes, thank you, Mr. Foster.
Edge of the property is directly north in the one Lincoln piece, so he is directly abutting this particular development right there.
so I guess my question then, Mr. Carlson, is how can he buy that parcel of land when that parcel right now without a subdivision, okay, is the parcel that's dedicated for the stormwater management, as part of the stormwater management for the subdivision. So how do you buy that?
I own the property.
Okay, I'm not asking him to, how do you buy that? Because that's part of the subdivision.
Because that parcel of land was and again, you might go back to your fee point, that this entire parcel was one, and it was encumbered by that one easement. I understand where you're heading with this, but again, that's a legal, I guess I'll have to ask legal on that specific
But-
answer.
But now I'm asking about a question about purchasing it. That lot serves a specific purpose. Again, let's forget the easement. The easement, again, that could change any time. It serves a specific function of the Heritage View subdivision. How do you can't just sell that lot, because now if I bought that lot, I could do whatever I want with it, and then it doesn't serve the purpose of stormwater management. So, whatever he bought,
I don't think you can change the easement.
I'm not talking about the easement. Again, let's get off the easement, because you keep
Well,
changing the tangent of the discussion, so let's not
let's have
talk
the-
about the easement. We're talking about
the
the.
attorney answer
All
that.
right, one at a time, please. I'm talking about the fee simple interest in that land. That has nothing to do with an easement. If that's part of the original subdivision and its purpose is intended for that lot to have a stormwater basin, someone designed a stormwater basin, that goes with that subdivision. So how do you just then sell that? Because you can, I don't care if you just sold it, that has a purpose. So if you want to then change the purpose of that lot, you can't do that by easement. You have to do that by a subdivision. So that's what I'm saying. I appreciate what you're saying, Mr. Edmund, but that doesn't answer my question because we keep going over the same thing. It's an easement, it's an easement. That's not the question.
Yeah, the attorney will
Yeah,
be here shortly.
Okay, so let's put a hold on that for now. You spoke earlier, is it okay, Mr. Chair?
Yes, you can
Okay.
continue, Gary.
You mentioned Mr. Robideau discussed something about the 100-year floodplain. I thought you first said there was floodplain on it, then I thought I heard you say it doesn't have floodplain on it. So on this lot that you're proposing to subdivide, for the sake of discussion, is that encumbered by the 100-year floodplain?
No, if I said floodplain, it was a 100-year storm event is
Oh,
what I meant.
Okay.
There is no floodplain on this lot.
okay, peace, okay, all right, that makes a lot of sense. With regard to the frontage, and I probably have a question for legal counsel here. So regarding the frontage, you mentioned a couple of times, this is a unique lot. You peppered that a few, what's unique about it?
It's unique because it has actually two frontages on two different sections of Manchester Farm Road.
Okay, so how does that factor in? Because when one says the word unique, that suggests, implies that there's some merit or warrants a variance. At least that's the way I took it. So the fact that it has frontage on two streets of the same road, but has two frontages, which I don't really think is unique, but let's say that it is. If you have a corner lot, there are lots of lots on corner lots that have frontage on two streets. I don't think that makes it unique, but let's say for the sake of discussion, I give you that, the benefit of the doubt. How does the fact that it has frontage on two streets, how does that in any way warrant the variance?
Again, I will lean on counsel. Obviously, he's more versed in, we'll call it the legal aspects of stating the particular facts for the variances. So I'll lean on counsel when they show up,
Alright.
if you don't mind.
No, so you said the word unique, you're not exactly sure, other than the fact that you're modifying the validity of the ordinance, of the variance, but you're not sure why though. That's fair. Okay, so question for counsel. I asked, the planner the question, but I wanted to ask you too. So on this, they're proposing a frontage on lot A along the turnaround portion of the cul-de-sac. So, and I'll show you too, Mr. Carlson, if you want what I'm asking, but let me ask you
I can-
first. And for you, Dave. Can you use the top of the road here as frontage? Because I always thought you have to use the sides of the road, that you can't use the top of the road right
What are you
here,
referring to?
right here. For frontage. Right, they're asking to use that. The frontage would be here and here. You're fronting on the road, not the top of it. That's the top of the stub. So I think that lot doesn't have any frontage. I'm not talking about access. I don't think our bylaws say anything about that. Your access to the lot have to be by the frontage. So I'm just talking strictly whether or not that lot actually has any frontage, because I don't think you could use the top of it. And maybe that's a question you want to look into, is whether or not you could use the top of this as opposed to the sides of the right of way for frontage. Yeah.
You're referring to this edge piece, correct, right here? This is like the real road. You're referring to this piece, correct?
Right, so I'm saying you can have frontage here and you can have frontage here, but I'm saying you cannot have frontage off the top of that road. And again, maybe if you want to take a look at it, at least
Yeah,
I,
let me take a look
okay.
at that. To answer.
I mean, it's part of the right of way, so I don't see, and it's every subdivision that I've designed in 30 years always included the right of way, which includes part of the cul-de-sac bulb as part of its frontage. So I'm not, but I certainly answer that question. No
So
problem.
again, Mr. I agree, for the lot A on the eastern side, absolutely, you
Mhm.
could use the circular part of the turnaround.
Okay, yeah.
Absolutely, there's no problem. I'm saying on the other end, that's not a turnaround, that's a stub. And I'm saying I don't think you can use the top of that. So the question is then, you could still ask for a variance, but then I'm saying I think you need to ask for a variance of 100 feet instead of 59.73 feet. And that's something I'm asking through the chair for if legal counsel could get back to us on that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that should be determined
Thank you.
for the board for clarity.
And my last question is, regarding the drainage calcs, if you could submit those to Brett when you get a chance,
No problem at all.
sign and stamp, please.
Sure.
Carlson.
Thank you. As part of that, I can certainly ask Leslie Keish to provide a letter if I don't have it as part of that she reviewed it and provide that to Brent as well.
What was that, sir?
The engineer of record, or town engineer for the town of Lincoln.
Yes.
I can ask her to make sure that she's inclusive of a letter that she reviewed it.
Yep, I agree with that. That should be submitted for the
No problem. at all.
record for the planning board's review. Paul, if we can, Mr. Carlson, sorry. It's official, Gary. If we could get back to, do you have a copy of Mr.
The full
Rabideau's?
report, I can provide that too.
No, I know, but do you have a copy of this letter? With
Me
you? 'Cause I'm
personally,
gonna-
yes.
Okay, I'm just gonna read from it because I do have a question. So again, this letter was written in November 6th, 2020. Almost 5 years ago. So the last paragraph says, I'm just gonna read it, so please bear with me. It is important to note that a new state freshwater wetlands law was enacted in July of 2015. This law made changes to the jurisdictional limits currently utilized in regulations. The Department of Environmental Management, DEM, is writing new regulations pursuant to this statute, which will require buffer zones for all freshwater wetlands. While a comprehensive timeline has not been established for the enactment of these rules, it is anticipated that they will be in effect at some point in 2021. If you submit an application for the development prior to promulgation of these rules, your project would then be grandfathered under the current wetland regulations and not subject to any new standards. We are now in the year 2025, and this project is now being submitted to this town. I'm assuming that, my assumption is that Mr. Rabideau is referring to a project being submitted to DEM in his letter.
It was referring to, in actuality, it was to this particular project, but because of the time frame that this has been in play, almost 5 years.
Yep.
That particular note was referring to this particular parcel and this particular development.
Okay, so since he wrote the letter in 2020 and he's referencing the likelihood of the freshwater wetlands law being modified, I guess, in 2021, I'm just wondering whether or not the wetland law has changed and whether or not the current wetland laws would provide Mr. Rabideau with a new perspective in how he addresses this property and reviews it and would write this letter today.
Understand your question, and I think that was the reason for the particular question of Mr. Wenzek in prior to entering this application before this board, understanding that any buffers could potentially create a wetland scenario or a wetland application scenario and or potentially hinder. And that's why I asked that question of Mr. Wenzek. As far as today's regulations, his answer was to that. So again, I will provide that letter to the findings of today.
Okay.
And the buffers.
Okay, so verbally again, the DEM's verbal conversation with you deems that there are no wetlands on this property. Do you know how DEM determines that? Like, would they utilize any or have any assistance from this letter to render their conclusion, or do they send their own staff members out to the property to observe it and render their conclusion?
Well, there's a couple of options there. One, and particularly that report was provided to Mr. Wenzek to ask his opinion on the regulations today and how this particular drainage pond would seek or have any particular buffers. And that's number one, his opinion. Two, there are particulars or applications, as you may know, to get a preliminary determination from Rhode Island DM, in which then they would send out their own biologist to review that, particularly as whether or not they find it as a wetland or a drainage structure, and therefore no buffers would be associated. So there's two-step process.
Okay.
But again, opinion is one thing, and then an actual application is a second.
Thank you. Where are you in that two-step process? Are you right before number one?
So one is getting that opinion from Mr. Wenzek, and I
in
will
writing.
have that,
Yep.
provide that, but we have not then put any other applications to the board, or excuse me, to Rhode Island DEM as far as an official findings.
Okay. And can we, the official findings, is that definition the same as preliminary determination?
Yes,
Okay, so preliminary determination is step 2.
correct.
So what we have forthcoming is just a preliminary letter from wetlands,
Mhm.
and then the applicant, then therefore, the applicant submits a request to DEM for a preliminary determination.
That's correct.
Okay. Does the applicant plan on doing that?
Well, I guess it's based on Mr. Wenzek's letter or opinion, but it would not be necessary. But I guess to make it official, we could certainly do that.
Okay. Thank you. I was combining the two, thinking that what you had previously stated was forthcoming was an actual preliminary determination. I didn't realize that it was not, that it was
That's
just
correct.
a
Is an
a
opinion.
preliminary letter from DEM. Okay. Okay. For the record, Mark Andriozzi is present. Hi, Mark. It's okay. Do we have any other questions from the board? Yep. Go ahead. Lou.
Back when the original subdivision was recorded, was any of this land that we're looking at here, the 2 parcels that we're looking at, was any of that land designated as open space under that original subdivision?
No, it was not. And I actually have the original design plans from RMA, Ash Associates. And again, I can provide those documents to planning as part of record. But neither one of those particular parcels were dedicated as open space.
Okay, thank you. As far as the drainage, with the increase in impervious surface, will there be any increase in the runoff into the existing drainage basin?
So as part of the original design calculations, the town engineer of Lincoln required us to design or look at the overall subdivisions that were contributing to this drainage easement under today's regulations, which were far different than that of the 1970s. So we've met the rainfall requirements of today, and we also encompassed the new developable parcels of these 2 into those calculations. I'll also point out that part of the development is also to utilize new best management practices, which include underground infiltration systems, rain gardens, and such that will handle the stormwater flow for the developments themselves. But we've already captured that if they weren't there, that the drainage calculations will still work.
Okay, so there shouldn't be any additional flow into the outfall that flows into North Providence.
That's correct. Based on our design, those new BMPs will handle that the new impervious surfaces.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Mark, do you have any questions? Warren?
No.
Steve?
Yeah, just one or two questions on, you worked with the town engineer in Lincoln on the drainage issue. Why wouldn't you bring in somebody from North Providence since you're here tonight before us and that makes up a large part of the area?
And certainly understanding the question and certainly from Mr. Chairman brought that up. Again, the fact that this easement was specifically for the town of Lincoln. And the drainage calculations that we were providing to the town of Lincoln, the town council, the planning board, and multiple other departments was to show that the drainage or easement could be shrunk down because that easement was part of the Lincoln subdivision. So that's why that it only went through town of Lincoln at
Okay,
this time.
thank you.
Any other questions, Steve?
No, that's it.
So
Apologies for being tardy this evening. Attorney Stevens started, just to follow up on your question regarding the drainage
Can-
discussion.
excuse me, so our stenographer is remoting in. Our stenographer who writes the meeting minutes is remoting in. Can you speak clearly into the mic and just state your name one more time, please? Thank you.
Certainly, I apologize. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Attorney Stevens Surdit, SURDUT for your stenographer.
Thank you.
I apologize for being late. And to what your board member just spoke about, when I became involved in the project, I had a opportunity to sit down and talk with your town planner. And it's my understanding that the discussions about drainage were initially brought to North Providence. The project was then sent to Lincoln because of the easement and the legal restrictions that existed for the prior subdivisions. And when I had a conversation with him prior to the last meeting, we had that discussion about the drainage and that being one of the big concerns about this board. And I tried to explain the path of travel and why we went to Lincoln first and came back. We did not try, it was not an intent to hide the ball or to take North Providence out of the project in any way. It was effectively a determination by the staff members and the powers that be that we had to go to Lincoln first. Get their
And I agree
approval.
with that, but I think maybe it would have been nice to have somebody from the town of North Providence pulled into that conversation.
Understood, and I can understand why you would say that, sir.
Okay.
Okay, we do have another question for you.
Please.
Gary, do you want to ask the question?
So, Attorney Sturd, the question I asked, Mr. Carlson, a couple of questions, but let's start regarding the status of subject parcel as is without the
Yes.
subdivision. So that parcel, what is it, about 1.7 acres or so, was part of the original Heritage View subdivision back in the 70s. Okay. And it was explained numerous times about the easements, that the easement encumbered the entire perimeter of the lot. But for purposes of the subdivision, the easement was reduced to essentially encircle the stormwater basin as it is. And I guess the culverts and other appurtenances to the stormwater system. But that's an easement. All that's doing is acknowledging, one, whether it's the town of Lincoln, the town of North Providence, whoever the easement is gonna go, is the right of access. Okay. But the purpose of that lot was for stormwater management. And now it's being repurposed. In fee simple, that lot is part of the subdivision. It continues to be part of that subdivision. So on what basis, what legal basis, if you could submit and you could look into it, I'm not saying you have to answer the question tonight, is on what legal standing do you have to now repurpose, because you can, I think, and subdivide that for 2 house lots when its purpose is to accommodate the stormwater basin. So what I suggested is this, I'm not saying you can't do that, but instead of subdividing this into two lots, to two house lots, and repurposing the entire purpose of that lot is create three lots, is create one for the stormwater basin, and then propose two other lots, which I still have questions about whether or not they meet the variance requirements. So, on what authority do you just get to repurpose that lot to say, yeah, it's been a stormwater basin lot, now we want to subdivide it into two house lots when it originally was not designed for that? So again, this calls into question, if that basin is part of that subdivision, how does your client now have ownership of that and choose to subdivide when its purpose is for the subdivision?
Well, I would couch it as that the drainage is an easement.
No, drainage is not an easement. The easement is encumbered to allow one to get access to it. So that's just a way of defining the edge and stating who may have permission to enter upon it. That's all an easement is to give another party access over another person's land. And I'm saying, how do you, my question is more fundamental than that. So let's not get into the easement with respectfully. We can also discuss that too, okay? My question is more fundamental. This in fee simple, let's just call it lot one for the sake of discussion, the parcel that we're gonna split it to A and B. 1.6 acres. Its purpose since the 1970s has been dedicated for stormwater management. And now someone comes along and says, yeah, I want to split and make two house lots out of it. On what legal basis do you do that?
Well, property's purpose changes hands and can change over time. And my suggestion to you is because of the technology and the explanation you got from the engineer about the ability to do the drainage and perform the purpose of that area in a smaller space, that we are still maintaining the reason that the lot was put there, the goals of the lot, what it's required to do under the subdivision regulation.
Okay, so you said lots change hands. Why would somebody buy a lot that's, its purpose is for stormwater management? For
Lots change purposes and lots change purposes, not hands. So I apologize if I misspoke or I didn't say it.
Okay,
So it's what it's required to do under those subdivision approval to catch all the water and to infiltrate it and to drain it. It's still performing that purpose.
yeah, but you're also having two houses on it too. So
And I would suggest to you that there's no prohibition.
I think there is. So that's why we need to look into, rather than encumbering that stormwater basin, and it's perfectly fine to compress it. I'm not saying you can't compress it. But you can't repurpose that lot whose sole purpose in fee simple, a part of a subdivision approved in the 1970s for Heritage View, now all of a sudden just randomly becomes repurposed for two house lots. And oh, by the way, it still serves the purpose for stormwater management. So whether we could discuss that now at another date, maybe I'd like to table this, so I could speak with counsel on it, but I don't think you can just do that. I don't think, what happens if one of the homeowners just decides because they can, I'm just gonna fill that in?
They can't.
I know they can't, but they can. That's
Well,
look, you can. You're not supposed to take left-hand turns. People take left-hand turns. You're not supposed to go down the one way, the wrong. People do. So look, do this for a living and people do things they're not supposed to do most of the time because they don't know, but some of the time they do know and don't care. So that's why I'm saying is if this is cut out and you could do it, don't get me wrong, a fee simple so that what you're creating, encumbering the smaller piece as a separate lot, so that continues to be part of the Heritage View subdivision. And then we can have another dialogue whether or not those two proposed lots merit the variances for separate house lots.
I would defer a bit to your staff as to whether they're comfortable with that, because there may not be frontage that create other issues that we would have to tackle and potentially other variances the board would have to grant in order to create a lot without frontage, essentially.
Which would be a landlocked piece of land. I get it. But to serve the purpose, so it continues in perpetuity to be part of that subdivision, I think that warrants that, but we'll have that discussion. I think more importantly is a question that I also raised, isn't so much, first of all, I question what, oh, I'm sorry.
No,
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I apologize to you. Are you gonna move off of the easement right now?
Yes,
Can
sir.
I add one
Of
thing?
course, yeah.
Does the property owner have a copy, have a copy of the easement deeded in their deed.
And I'm not on hand this evening, but I'm sure we can find one of the original deed.
Yeah,
Certainly.
thank you very much to our council, who's brought that to my attention. I think having a copy of the legal document that establishes the easement would help our board understand, whether or not, it would just help define what the easement actually is.
Understood.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Gary.
Okay, thank you. So I'm questioning, when Mr. Carlson presented his testimony to the board, he used the word unique a couple of times, and I get it, to modify what I inferred was to rationalize or justify the variance. So without getting into why it's unique, he had mentioned because it has frontage on two roads, and I submit probably hundreds, if not thousands of lots in the town of North Providence alone that has frontage on two streets. So I'm not gonna accept the argument that it's unique, but more importantly, and this is a question that I asked legal counsel, and if you want to chime in on it, not necessarily tonight, is I don't think one is afforded frontage off the stub end of a right of way. I understand on the both sides, but I don't think you can have frontage. So where lot B is, Attorney Sturdy, where the driveway comes in on the west side, I think it's like 49. It's like 40.27, and I'm saying that I don't think you could use that for frontage. So I asked that of counsel, and I'd like to get her opinion on whether or not, yeah. Moreover, I just looked at a GIS, and I understand this GIS. Those aren't perfect, I get it. But at least based on what I saw on the GIS system, that lot doesn't even go up to Manchester Pond Road. Assessors lot 248, lot 80308. Well, it says James and Jean Salisbury, if you may. That lot actually comes between Manchester Farm Road and the lot that you want to create off Manchester Farm Road on the west side. So all I would ask, again, GIS could be wrong. I totally understand that. Those are for tax assessing purposes, not surveyed property. I'm also going to look into whether or not the lot that you propose to create. So there's two issues with that. Does it actually go up against Manchester Pond Road? First, we need to figure that out, because I think B is probably landlocked. But even if it does have frontage, so that the survey trumps the assessor's record, I get that because you got the stamp on it. So I'll give you that. Assuming that that's the case, my next question is whether or not the stub end of that road, that 40 feet at the very end, can be used toward frontage. And I'd like to get an answer from that as well. Yeah, okay.
I'll defer to your counsel.
Okay.
It would be my position that if the lot lines, if this particular lot that will be created, lot A, I believe, right, is that B?
Lot B, yeah.
If lot B, the border of lot B does attach to that road, I do think it would constitute frontage.
Okay.
However, yeah, I did a little research while we were waiting for counsel. Thank you for being late to give me that time. The definition of frontage, which I lost now, but it's basically was if it abuts a road, which it would do so if the lot lines allow that. There is a little bit of disparity as to where the lot is.
Okay,
So-
but my question isn't the definition of frontage. I know the definition of frontage. The question is whether or not the stub end of the road qualifies for
Yes.
frontage.
It would.
Okay,
That's my position.
I'm not going to argue with your counsel.
neither am I. because-
Good answer.
Yeah,
Yeah, so the exact definition,
all right.
exact definition,
I would have a sidebar with her later on, and I'll with the board, of course. Of course,
It
please
sounds like
understand.
there's going to be some things that the board wants to request for a future meeting anyway. So this, I can give a final decision on that, but my gut instinct would be it would constitute, but I'll do some more research.
so just to give the definition, a contiguous portion of a lot abutting a road. So a non-contiguous frontage shall not be included when considering whether a lot meets the dimensional requirement. So it's essentially access to a road.
Well, access is not frontage, so that's why I said it doesn't matter to me where the access is.
Abutting a road.
Right,
So
and I'm
it's
s-
abutting a road.
Right, But that's the definition of frontage. And I'm
Yes.
saying that I don't think that that's stub end of the road. Well, but we'll have that discussion as Sophie gets some research. And if that's the case, then that's the case moving forward.
Regardless, the lot line would be an issue.
Right, that's a separate question. That's right. So while you're here, can you offer some commentary on justifying the variance? One is a 59.73 feet and the other one is 47.63 feet. What's the
Well,
basis?
I respectfully disagree. You have more experience having being a resident of North Providence than I do as to whether or not it's unique. But it is in my opinion, a oddly shaped lot. It is unique in that it has frontage on two existing roadways. And it's further unique in that it's encumbered by these drainage easements and all these other things. And it's an existing parcel.
Yeah, but how does that affect the length of a frontage? So if the question was a matter of setback.
Yep.
But I can't meet the rear yard setback because of the wetlands. So therefore, either I'm gonna fill a wetland, which you can't do, or board, I have a hardship, I have to move it closer to the street, totally get it. Topography, soil consistency, shape of the lot. But the shape of the lot isn't contributing to the fact that you don't have sufficient frontage. So that's what I'm saying is, what's the hardship? The fact that on lot A, you're asking for a variance of 47.63 feet merely because you just don't have enough land. So what's the hardship? Maybe you just can't develop it.
Well, the hardship is the unique shape and conditions of the site and the lot, and it's not as a result of the conditions of the neighborhood or other things. And my client didn't create the hardship. And the standard now is that not being a hardship is simply something where it affects your ability to utilize the property in the best way possible. So my suggestion to you would be that single-family homes are an allowed use in the property. What we're asking for is a deviation from a dimensional requirement in order to do an allowed use on the property. And we believe that that not doing so would amount to more than a mere inconvenience in that language that I'm sure you folks have heard enough times. And that it is not due to one of the prohibited reasons. It's not for a financial gain. I'm happy to put it in writing and go through it in great detail, but we believe that we meet those requirements.
So I accept everything you said. I understand it, but what I won't do is I won't beat a dead horse. So I made my point. I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Couple of questions on the, just on the structures, just for confirmation, they are single family, correct?
Yes, they would be single-family homes.
And will they be ownership or will they be rented?
I don't think we've gotten that far in the process as to exactly what my client's intent is to do that. So I wish I could give you a better answer, but that's to be determined.
Fair enough. And then the proposed well, just, the lessons that I've learned in recommissioning wells and also, putting new wells in, specifically wells that are adjacent to or, within proximity of a wetland. I've had to go through that process just for the applicant's edification. That process may be different for residential. But there was a huge undertaking on my part in designing and implementing a new well and recommissioning an existing well within proximity of a wetland that I had to go through multiple steps in determining and proving to DEM that the well had no negative impacts to any freshwater wetlands. So that is something that I never thought I would go through in my life, but I did, and came out successful. I lost a little bit more here, but but it is a process, and just for the applicant's knowledge, just consult with your civil engineer as into what the actual process of implementing a well looks like and what it is. Plan for it specifically after you get a preliminary determination from DEM on whether or not you do have a wetland on your property.
As I've encountered, as you have, I'm assuming you're the chair, sir.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, that well and water access is driving development in Rhode Island across the board, whether you're in the cities, you're in the counties, or you're down by the coastline. Water and water access is one of the main driving drivers, limitations on development. So I agree with you, and it's a process.
Does anybody have any other further comments?
So-
Okay. Well, for one residential project, I think you heard a lot of comments and feedbacks from the board. It may not be the board's decision to render an opinion tonight. It sounds like that we had come up with a, call it, list of items that we were concerned or wanted to know more about. I'm just gonna read through that list as I took the notes. Mr. Carlson stated that a letter from DEM would be forthcoming on DEM's preliminary opinion on the property and the presence of wetlands. I think that it is in the town and the applicant's best interest to obtain a preliminary determination from DEM on whether or not wetlands are present on the property. I am cognizant that the civil engineer went through the process of redeveloping the footprint of what is considered the drainage easement with the town of Lincoln. But considering that a bulk of the footprint of the easement, specifically what's called the drainage pond, is on North Providence's property, and that there's a culvert that discharges or daylights into North Providence, that the calculations that the civil engineer reviewed with Lincoln be also reviewed by the town of North Providence's engineer. And I guess at the same time that those hydraulic calculations would be submitted for record as part of this application. I think that we have a preliminary determination from our council on the applicability or the definition of what frontage is, specifically for Lot B facing Manchester Farm Road West. However, there is a discrepancy between the survey and the town's GIS map as into where the lot line for lot 808 actually is, whether that lot dog legs up onto Manchester Farm Road, which will then render proposed parcel B to be landlocked. I think that should be determined for the board. I think a copy of the easement should be provided for record in determining the exact usage and qualifying parameters of what the easement actually is. And where I have the last is I think this may be answered once we do see the easement, but I guess the question was stated, and I don't know if anybody decided that what the answer was, but how how the subdivision that's being proposed is just two properties, thus splitting the pond in half rather than subdividing it into three properties, maintaining the easement as one and two residential properties as separate. We should talk about that one a little bit more because I had a hard time following that. Do you have a response?
Well, I'm happy to speak to your staff and work with the board to determine what is better, what in the board's opinion, and with your staff to whether to have two lots, each with an easement, or to have three lots, one of which encumbers the easement area. We tend to try not to create nonconformities or variances, especially lots that would have no frontage, would then, the only access to it would be by an easement, which again bleeds into people blocking easements, people impacting easements, people doing those things. So I'm happy to hear the concerns the board has and try to address those. My concern would be that the subdivision regulations in your comprehensive plan and zoning regulations push us to avoid creating lots that are violative of those and that need additional relief, because I would then have to ask the board for frontage relief, access relief. That lot would essentially need every kind of relief that you can dimensionally without a house, because it would have to have zero frontage, and then its only access would be over another parcel. So it gives me some concern, but I'm happy to work with your staff and see what their thoughts are as to whether it makes sense to have the drainage easement on those two parcels or a third parcel. We tend to have a theory that ownership breeds good stewardship, and that being that people who had own a portion of that easement area would want it to be maintained and want it to continue to function versus filling it in. Whereas if it's a third party's lot and it's not on their property, it's a little bit easier to go fill in somebody else's lot than to make changes that would then impact your lot and go forward.
Sure,
Again,
maybe.
that's a
yeah,
concept, though.
Maybe not. I think Mr. Coulson spoke to an HOA, homeowners association, who I guess this will be found in the easement document, but so is it my understanding correct that Heritage Estates has an established HOA that maintains the drainage pond?
That's my understanding as well, yes.
I'll just jump into that specific answer. So the Heritage View Estates, there is not an HOA as far as the overall subdivision.
Okay.
As part of the application before the town of Lincoln actually has the responsibility under what I understand is the easement to maintain this drainage pond, even though it's in North Providence. It's a little funky, I think, and that's where you have to just double check. But the fact is that under the agreement with Town of Lincoln, the HOA would be established for these two lots only in order to maintain this drainage easement.
Okay, so you said the two lots, you mean the two proposed lots,
That is correct.
separate from for Stephanie, which is actually in Lincoln. So what you're saying is that should this subdivision be approved, then the town of Lincoln is going to develop a maintenance program suitable for this drainage pond that's in Rhode Island. I'm sorry, that's in North Providence.
Under the HOA, and I'll step back, that is actually three lots. So it is Mr. Anjon's personal property, that's for Stephanie, as well as these two proposed lots are part of the HOA, and they would be the ones maintaining this particular drainage easement.
They meaning Lincoln's DPW. Or
The HOA.
the HOA.
The HOA.
So why would the new owner of, for example, if the board were to approve this, A and B agreed to maintain a stormwater basin, which God only knows what your operation and maintenance plan is. So they're gonna go out every 6 months, clean out the culverts, pay for all this. What are they gonna charge? $5,000 a month? So come on, that doesn't make any sense. So the two new homeowners are gonna pay to maintain the stormwater basin that's designed and built to service a multi-lot subdivision to the north. That doesn't make any sense.
That's what it boils down to.
That's the agreement, and again, we can certainly speak to that at the next hearing. But the specific agreements that the homeowner has with the town of Lincoln as part of this easement and the agreement to changing, there are specific language that council or that we could provide information for at the next meeting.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chair.
Who's responsible for maintaining the drainage pond now?
Town of Lincoln.
So we're
A
gonna.
couple of years ago, when everybody was flooding out, Amanda Court was like Niagara Falls because of this drainage basin.
Mr. Chair, that's an excellent reason on top of everything else. So we get back-to-back 100-year storms. They're gonna call the town of North Providence or the town of Lincoln, but we're gonna say, no, call the homeowner of 16 Farmer, whatever road and 20, they're gonna take care of it, really? So, good try. I don't buy that at all. So at least from my standpoint. So, but that's I wasn't even going down that path, but absolutely.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's an anomaly. Yeah. Heritage View Estates
Which that you
access.
asked for, we'll answer that
Yeah,
question.
yeah.
I have a feeling it's not quite let me look at the language and present it to the board and explain it and work with your counsel, because I have a feeling it works a little bit differently, but I don't want to state it without having the language in front of me and having a detailed explanation for the board.
Fair enough.
Mr.
Fair
Chair,
enough.
could I just add two more items to your list?
Yes,
we're
you
gonna ask-
may.
We were gonna ask to put a revised date on the plan
Oh,
and the PE
and
stamp on the
PE
plan as
stamp
well.
on the plan.
Okay.
For submission. Okay.
I do have one question when you're done with your list, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, we're done with the list.
Okay.
Just as long as you got those last two from Gary.
I do. I have those things here and I was writing them down as you said it. So they're important to me. With
Thank you.
regard to verification of the frontage, for lot B,
Yep.
beyond the stamp from my surveyor, what is the board looking for specifically? Is an affidavit from the surveyor? Cause I'm happy to do it and address the board's concern, but I don't know what type of information to provide the board, because usually a surveyor stamp,
Well,
carries the day.
I mean, one way, this is kind of, one way would be to actually survey lot 808, right? And, to prove to the board without a, shadow of a doubt that, lot 808 is how it depicts on your survey. And that lot 808 does not dog leg, south, and basically render your parcel be landlocked. I don't know how else you would, go about it.
And that's sort of why I asked the question, Mr. Chair, is because what I'm gonna call the surveyor, I'm gonna say, can you prove to me? And they're gonna say, well, what do you mean? My plan speaks for itself in essence, right? So I'm happy to provide something. I'll speak to him about his ability to go out and maybe survey the endpoints of the road rather than going on an additional private party's parcel.
I don't think that's necessary. I'm not questioning the edge of the pavement. So if I may, Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
If your surveyor says, hey, look, my PLS stamp is on it, I'm all set. I respect that. Then I guess the burden would be on us to look at the town assessors maps and see where the Salisbury lot ends, whether it's just along the straight part, if you may,
Yep.
the straightaway part of the road, or if it dogtails to the stub end of it. So if your survey, I get it, you don't have to do that. If he would or she would, great. If not, then we can't compel you to do that. We would just look at our records.
And I'm not trying to be obstinate.
No,
I'm
no,
trying to
that's
just
a reasonable
make
point.
sure I know what the standard that I'm trying to show to the board.
So at some point, if you can meet, just let Brent know either way, if your
Yep.
survey is gonna do that or not. If the answer is no, I totally get that. And we'll just work with our assessor and take a look at the map.
My plan is to reach out to Brendan the next day or two and come up with a plan and a timeline. So we're not duplicating work, and speak to your solicitor as well so that we're all in agreement and we can present you with all the information you've requested at the next meeting.
Thank you.
And Brent's been great to work with so far. It's
good
been
to
a
hear.
pleasure, so.
Hopefully you've had an enjoyable experience with us as well. Okay, so does the board have any more questions for the applicant? Because we do have to open it up for public comment.
Did you also want a copy of the subdivision regulations that were drafted back in the seventies when the subdivision was approved? Do you need?
What would we do with 50-year regs? It is what it is.
Okay.
Anything like
just-
the actual like plat plan from when it was originally designed?
Well, anything written about the drainage basin and that lot that.
I
is-
apologize.
I mean,
I do
how
for
it
the
was
regulation.
determined that the whole lot needed to be the
Yeah.
easement? I don't know.
Yeah,
I think, yeah,
Okay.
thank you. Good job. Okay. Do you have any more comments for the board at this time?
I would just reserve the right to speak after the public comment, should there be public comments.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, time is 7:31. We'll open it up for public comment. Is anybody in the gallery here to speak about this project? Please come forth, state your name and your address for the record.
So Alex Billiouris, 10 Valley View Drive, North Smithfield. I actually represent Mr. Emgen. Consider myself a real estate expert. But beyond that, I also, just so you guys know, I sat on my planning board for 6 years. And in the town of North Smithfield. So I wanted to give you some background on this because I've been involved since the beginning.
So
And,
did you say you represent the applicant?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Why, may I ask why you're speaking during the time for the public rather than being a part of his team?
Well, I probably should have come up at that time, but I figured this would be more appropriate because it's just to give you kind of a, general background about the whole process that we've been through and some of the questions that came up. I thought it was more, I'm not an engineer, nor am I an attorney. So, but if you think it's more appropriate that, I be put under the record as representing Mr. Emgen, I have no problem.
I think you should speak to the council about how you should proceed.
So he recommends that I speak to you on when we come back.
Okay,
As part of my presentation, I think it'll be more appropriate to incorporate Mr. Corr's statements into our presentation and address your points
okay,
at the next meeting.
thank you. Thank you. Right. Is anybody else in the public? Yes, thank you. So please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, Cheryl Grandy, 115 Manchester Farm Road, North Providence, Rhode Island. I understand the applicant's desire to redo zoning, but I do think that it would definitely conflict with our standards that we have. The zoning variance that they're asking for is more than half of what the zoning is in my existing neighborhood.
So for the record, are you speaking in opposition?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't get that.
Oh, I'm
Okay,
sorry.
so
yeah.
you're in opposition.
Opposition.
Okay.
I actually appreciate the board's question around the DEM and the drainage. I've had multiple issues since I am the landowner right at the end of the cul-de-sac.
Which end, if you don't mind me asking that?
I'm on the North Providence side,
On the what?
so it would be, I believe, against Lot A. I'm on the
Okay.
North
You're on
Providence side.
the,
This?
Yeah.
Okay.
my assumption is you're on the cul-de-sac of Manchester Farm Road.
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Have had many drainage issues, storm issues, working with Department of Public Works. They've had to come, the actual street itself is on a pitch. It pitches towards my driveway. They've had to come and do a makeshift gully. I have pictures that I could submit to the board, but definitely concerned that this development, whatever it would be, would impact the easement that's there for drainage. In addition to the fact that the neighborhood there's a reason why we have a frontage of 100 feet, and this variance would be almost half of that. So I'm concerned with that as well.
Do you have any other concerns or comments you would like to add to the board, Ms. Grande?
I think mostly the storm management and the DEM pieces. So like I said, I do have a lot of records with DPW. I have pictures with flooding on the street, and I have pictures of the makeshift area in front of my house where the whole street gets flooded. So really concerned that this development is going to impact that.
Brother, you have pictures of that?
I have pictures of I do have pictures of the flooding, and I have pictures of the makeshift drainage that they put in front of my house.
Mr. Chair, is it okay to ask you to forward those to Brent?
Yes, if you do wish to have them presented to the board for record, can you email them to the planner?
Sure.
It seems like you have them on your, digitally on your phone.
I have them.
Can you take down the email real quick?
Sure.
So it's planning@northprovidenceri.gov.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Does the applicant wish to address the board in response to any of the public comments?
After hearing the abutter speak this evening, I had, I think the board just saw me, I very briefly spoke to her, and I'm gonna get her contact information and reach out to her and see if there's any concerns or anything we can do to address her concerns before the next meeting.
Okay, and I think having the photos submitted not only to the board, but also to the applicant.
I'll reach out to your planner and make sure I get a copy.
Would be the thing to do. Okay. All right, we'll enter into discussion.
Mr. Chair, if, whether we go as a board or individual board members, I'm not sure what the protocol is. Are we allowed, if we to go out to the site, either from the west side or the east side, are we allowed to walk on the property, or we could just view it or to Angela, we can only view it from the street? The property.
You could do a site visit with the owner, who's the applicant. You could do a site visit. If the entire board would want to go, it'd have to be posted as a public meeting, of course.
Sure.
If there's not a lot of interest and there's only, or they want to go in groups, it would not be posted. I would suggest that if that's an interest of the board, that if the applicant would work with our planner to try to schedule something.
Yeah, absolutely. I would just like an opportunity to go out there with you if we can work that out. If not, yeah, going to the site is always a good idea.
I have a lot of crazy hours, so, there are times I'll make an appointment, I have to, I'm thinking, change it, so,
Was this
I
ever a
I
paper
probably want to
street
go on
going
my
through?
own, so if that's okay. If you have an issue about
So
indemnification
this
or
is
whatever, you don't want to
Manchester,
walk
and
on
this
the
is
property,
Manchester.
totally understand it.
And it was never a
I'll just
paper
probably
street.
view it from both
Yeah,
streets.
we'll make it work, sir.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. You're very accommodating. I appreciate it.
Well, I think that's a fair request. When it comes to property, every property is unique, every parcel is unique, and I commend you for taking the time. You're a volunteer to go out there and look at it, so I appreciate where you're coming from.
One moment. Warren has a question for our planner.
I'm gonna, this is to Brent. These two portions of Manchester Farm Road, was it ever a paper street connecting them?
There's no paper street. I'm not sure if there ever was, but currently no paper street exists
There was never.
connecting them. I assume they must have had plans to connect them at one point, and the topographic conditions of that drainage area prevented them from doing it, and they abandoned it.
Okay.
Very good question, Warren. Why would we have two Manchester Farm Roads in North Providence?
It was confusing to me. It was odd to start talking about it to me too, for that same reason, but I couldn't find no record of there ever being any connection between the two. There's just two Manchester Farm Roads.
Just two. Okay. Okay, so we went through a lot tonight. I think there's a lot of information that's pertinent to the board's review of the project. I'll speak on behalf of the board right now. If your applicant would be willing to, if the board chooses to not make a decision tonight, would your applicant be amenable to continuing?
Yeah, we're amenable to continuing it to the next meeting, and I don't think we're coming up at any decision deadline or timeline, so I don't think we have to address that this evening, but I defer to your staff if that's the case.
Brent, can you just confirm when the certification of completeness was given, if you know?
It was like 2 months ago. However, there was an error in a butter notification. The applicant didn't make the deadline, so there was a delay, but it was on the applicant's.
Okay, so if we're approaching the 90 days, if the certification was done about 2 months ago, if the applicant would just consent to extending that time just in case it needs to be done, but it's possible that it won't even go past the 90 days, but.
Yeah, I agree. Do you know what the date of your next meeting is? Because I believe we have to continue it to
I
a
believe
date
it's
certain.
December 10th.
Okay, let me just make sure
The 10th, 6 PM.
Okay, so can open it up for discussion. I think we have three possible votes tonight. One would be to possibly approve, one would be to deny, one would be to continue. I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion that the board continue the public hearing.
Gary's made the motion to continue the public hearing. Do I hear a second?
Yeah,
Oh.
to December 10th, 2025.
Second. Mark seconds. We'll take a roll vote, starting at Lou. Voting to continue to continue the public hearing to December 10th.
And to confirm the applicant is okay with consenting.
We're consenting to a continuance to the December 10th meeting and a decision being delayed till the December 10th meeting.
Okay. Lou, you can start the vote again. Sorry.
Aye.
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 Chair votes aye. The ayes have it. We will continue until December 10th. With your consent to forego any decisions or deadlines based off the certificate of completeness. Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Have a great evening. Sorry for my being late again.
Don't worry. Gave you time. So before we adjourn, I'd like to bring two things up with our planner. Like to get board's feedback on it. Number one, like to request that each board member receive a town of North Providence email address for all and any correspondences related to your planning board responsibilities. This is just out of, I think, an abundance of caution, keeping our, planning board lives separate from our
Very good suggestion.
personal lives.
Yep.
And it looks like everybody's nodding their head that that's okay. You don't have to manage another email. I'm assuming this is possible. This is easy enough. Okay, well,
IT.
all right, so we'll put that request in.
Yeah, I'll talk to Ralph tomorrow.
Okay, and then, oh, the second thing was asking for, so in each applicant, well, what I think would be helpful, Brent, is, every packet that we receive to review, which usually we get a week before the hearing, that the list of completeness is provided with the packet,
Can do that.
just for reference. And again, my question to Brent earlier, guys, was can we prohibit applicants from submitting new material once the packets are distributed to us? So we don't come prepared to the board meeting based on a review of a packet that is all of a sudden outdated by the time we sit down in our chair. It sounds like we can't.
So that's a question I want to check with Angelica
So,
about.
I don't think we can. If somebody wants to submit something, we need to accept it. I think then
Yeah.
how we take it in is this. So let's say Brett sends everything out. We've had it for a week. And this afternoon, they submit a whole revised plan. I would say we move forward on either one of two things. Have a with all due respect, if I may, have a discussion that night on the material that Brent sent us, or we don't take it up, we continue the hearing to the next meeting. And
Right
pick
off the
up
bat.
Right out of the gate. Right
That'd
out of the gate.
That'd be good protocol.
Because here's what will happen.
Go ahead.
There could be a policy set forth by the board that can be communicated to the applicant.
Yeah,
Said something along the lines of, listen, the board takes this very seriously. They want to make sure they're reviewing all of the materials properly and thoroughly. If things are submitted, less
Last
than
minute.
72 hours in advance of the public hearing of the meeting, it is the board's policy to remove that item from the agenda and continue it to the next meeting.
well, I would even 72 is kind of quick. So
Whatever you want.
me
Within 1
personally, what I do, yeah, when I get in on Wednesday, depending on how much information it is, usually I'm done with my review on Monday,
Yeah.
right? And so getting new material after that would be, it will blow my mind, right? And what I would hope that this policy avoids, not only it better prepares us, it's a policy that allows us to say, all right, you just submitted a whole bunch of material. We're gonna vote to continue it. You knew about it. I think this policy, if we choose to set it, needs to be communicated to the public somehow. And I'm just bringing this up as an example. It was, what was it? It was at Baird Avenue where,
Said, oh, it's actually all one bedrooms now.
Yeah.
Yeah, they changed that the day of.
yeah,
Within 2 hours
that
of the meeting.
and also, yeah, yes,
happens
it
all the
was,
time.
it was Baird Avenue where we said, I'm sorry, the place was full and, a lot of people got angry because we
Yeah.
decided to continue, even though it was in, I think, the board and the town's best interest to continue. At the time, we had a lot of angry people. They didn't understand why we just couldn't do it, right? Couldn't go through the motions that night. So
So perhaps Angelica could write out some kind of like disclaimer and we can upload it on the town website as
That's
just
what I
like,
was gonna say. How about if
Yeah.
somebody write up the policy, run by the
Yeah.
board so we can all take a look at it? And once we give thumbs up, you can just upload it on the city's website.
yeah, just like a quick,
Yeah.
1 paragraph that we could put on the top or
Yep. And
right
it
above
can
the
be
application. And we could put it on viewpoint too, the way they apply now.
mhm.
That's fine. I can write that up. I can write that up and submit that. I think maybe we should put it on the agenda for a vote.
Yeah,
For the board to
Yeah.
approve the language.
yeah, that's remembered in the minutes,
Yeah.
memorialized.
Put it on the
yeah.
next,
Put it on the agenda, the next agenda.
Yeah.
On the tenth for a vote, and that way the board can all be on the same page, we can tweak it, whatever.
Yeah.
What time do you guys think timeline you would want, a week in advance, 5 days?
It's sooner the better.
I think a week works because that's when I send out the
Just
application
72 hours
or the,
okay?
packets.
Okay, wait. So
Brett, does that give you enough time to compile it so you can send it out?
Week?
to-
Yeah, a week. I mean, I send the application or the packets out a week in advance. So
But if,
as long as
But
it's-
when do you
But
get
if the
that
client-
information?
if the
but
developer.
I get it a month before.
Yeah. If,
Well, I can
that's-
revise the packets. I usually do them that Wednesday and send them out that Wednesday afternoon, 1 week before. the
Okay.
meeting.
if it doesn't
How about, Thursday as a limit, so we could compile it for Friday, so we could look at it over the weekend?
Well, no, I think actually we should just work backward.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
it
gotta
should
go
go with the
backwards.
packet. You just want to work backwards that you,
Send one
that when
packet.
you send that packet,
That's it.
that's it. So,
Okay.
And if the board can.
'Cause
the
that's a-
board can handle on a case by case basis, if the proposed change comes in on a Friday or something, right? They'll still submit it, but Brett will still take it, Brett will still send it to you.
yes.
And if,
sound like
if
we're
the
rejecting
change,
it.
right, if the change is something that you guys can process very easily and quickly, maybe it's something the board will take up. If it's a large, major change to the project that would need a lot more review, then it can be a kind of unspoken or spoken policy that the board would reserve the right to.
Okay.
To continue that without really any further discussion, that way you don't have to put on the show.
Yeah.
And make the public come here when they don't want to come here, and feel like their time is wasted.
Right.
So absolutely.
Will the public know that it's not going to be heard that night?
Well, no, we would render a decision that night. So so the policy isn't that Brent is going to not accept anything new. It's that the applicant is at risk, that if they submit anything after the packet gets put out, that they are at risk that the board may decide either to review the new material the night of the hearing,
Yeah.
or the board can determine that we continue it. So the applicant is at risk.
I don't know if we could refuse it.
We can't refuse it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we refuse
Oh, I
it.
thought you said Brent will refuse it.
No, I say Brent will not refuse it.
Oh,
He has to accept
Oh,
it.
okay, yeah,
But
okay, I'm
but the
sorry.
applicant is submitting it at risk after the
Agreed.
the
That-
date
okay,
that
yes,
we
I'm
may
sorry.
not hear it.
Yes, yeah, I'm sorry. I thought you said Ken,
Yeah.
I didn't hear
The
the.
only thing is if a member of the public wants to be heard that night because they attended the meeting, even though they know it may be continued, at least they would be able to get their voice on record, and not have to come back again.
They would have to wait
Well,
until public comment.
Yeah.
If they want to speak on the agenda item.
I don't know about that.
Hmm.
What if they can't come the
Yeah.
next night or something? I would think we should let them speak.
It's up to the chair.
I haven't thought about it that much.
You know,
So,
Yeah.
sometimes they can write a letter, sometimes they're thinking it's gonna get read, so we could think about it, but I would say because again.
yeah, we
we're
don't
here
want
for
to
the
deny the public,
right?
right?
So maybe we take that testimony and it's based on it is what it is,
Yeah.
at least, you know, if
Oh,
we tell them
because
you
we
came out, then we go, oh, you come, what if they can't come to the next meeting, you
That's
know? They needed a babysitter or, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
no, I understand. Okay, so let's just play out the scenario for a little bit, right? Say we, well, we're still on. Do we, yeah, so the scenario would be, okay, we get project Wednesday, everybody's good. Oh, we get something new on Monday and our hearing is on Wednesday. We all come and, you know, everybody can see it on everybody's faces, like this is just too big of a change to swallow tonight. The process of the public hearing still is followed through, right?
You could open the public hearing.
Yep.
If you open the public hearing, you would hear testimony.
Well, see, that's what we don't want to do.
Right, I think the proper thing to do would be to continue the public hearing with consent of the applicant.
That they don't present.
They don't present.
They don't present. We just acknowledge the fact that the applicant has submitted additional information for record at their own risk that they did so after the, you know, set deadline. I'll have to do a very good job in stating the policy so everybody in the public can hear it again and,
Themselves will be noticed by our website, by Brent, by all of those things that we're going to put in place.
yeah,
About this policy, so Brent or myself can, presumably you talk to the applicants before they come to the meetings.
Mhm.
We'll say, hey, listen, you submitted this a little late, it's the board's policy typically to continue these things to allow for them to review.
Mhm.
This is something I feel that the board will need additional time for. Are you okay with continuing the public hearing to the next meeting? They would have to renotice public because the public hearing was open, but that's on them. They submitted
No, I don't-
documentation.
No,
That
if
would
we,
be the way that would have to play out.
I would think that if we schedule a public hearing, for example, for December 11th, that we advertise for that, let them come. And that's the example where they gave us a substantial amount of revised materials on the Monday before the meeting, correct?
yeah, it was
I
big.
would say because Brent's already advertised and we've sent out public notification, what we would do that night respectfully is open the hearing because we've already advertised, right? Tell them, please give us a continuation, and then David, for the residents, at least from that point of view, to say, look, we're gonna continue it. If you can come to the next meeting, great, but if you can't make it for whatever reason, we'll take your testimony tonight.
You
Right,
wouldn't
but they
able
would
to
be
take public testimony without the applicant presenting.
presenting. They
You
wouldn't
could-
be testimony. They would,
All right.
Defeat the purpose of you guys trying to expedite. It sounds like you're trying to efficiently make decisions. That's the purpose of this, right? So why hear testimony before you're prepared to do so?
You could recommend they send in a letter to be read in the record for the next meeting if they can't make it.
yeah.
Let me do some
Lem-
research
yeah.
on this and see how the way this can play out and how the public comment will be affected. But if you open the hearing, you need to allow for the applicant to testify at the hearing.
Well, can't they just say tonight, we're here to present, information, but we respectfully ask the board to continue the hearing? You just open the hearing.
Ah.
Right, but the public would comment on what? There's no facts and evidence.
Oh, okay, so again, but I think to ask them, because maybe some people came to the office and reviewed it. I mean, people don't always react to what's
No,
said
I
at the,
totally
right?
understand what you're saying, so I think we have to kind of like,
I just want to make it so we're not inconveniencing
of course,
the public, right?
of course.
They're the hired gun. They're gonna come in. They need to continue. The attorneys are gonna charge, or they charge the engineers, all right? I'm just saying so that we don't have the residents think, oh, sure, no, I gotta come out again and that inconvenience. That's the only reason, so.
Well, they're gonna, in one way or another, they're gonna have to, right? I mean, what we're trying to do is, I look at it this way now, because you guys are actually bringing up a whole lot of good points that I didn't realize, right? They're, they're benefiting from it as well, because they're not, sure, they came out to town hall for 5 minutes, but at least they didn't come out to town hall for 2 hours just to go home with the same result.
Yep, okay.
So,
So I think the concept is great. It's a great idea. Let's debug it. Let's work it
yeah,
out.
okay, great.
But those are two good points.
Okay, awesome. That was it.
Thank you.
Motion to, do you have anything else do you have anything to report?
We're gonna start a new round of zoning revisions, so,
Oh,
there's gonna be some workshops coming up if anyone's
Cool.
interested in attending.
yeah,
Yeah, sign me up.
They're gonna be transit-oriented housing and just an increase in housing, so we're gonna address ways to do that with little negative effect on the town. So that's the goal.
when are these workshops tentatively scheduled for? Before Christmas?
We don't know yet. We just got awarded the MTAP funds. We're working with Weston and Sampson.
Okay,
Again, same with the comprehensive plan and
Yeah.
the previous zoning rewrites. So, those will be announced soon, probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks. But this is a several month process,
it's a what?
a several month process.
Okay.
So,
I was just wondering if you try and jam workshops in between Thanksgiving and Christmas.
they probably won't be before Christmas.
Well, unless you do a buffet for us. then, yeah.
Yeah, if we do, we'll do a
Nice
buffet.
spread.
You know, 2 other questions that just popped up on me. David, for the next meeting.
Yeah, if you don't mind, we're trying to. Hey, Gary, do you want to make a motion to adjourn?
I would love to make a motion to adjourn. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. None opposed. Motion is adjourned. It is 7:59.
Everybody happy Thanksgiving, folks.
Happy Thanksgiving to you too, Gary. Enjoy your holiday.
Mark,
Yes.
this is your summons.
What I gotta say.
Clear it out.
What were you gonna ask?
For it, you don't need to be present. or-
This is all
but
his.
they want everything to the board, so if you're
Oh, this
you're
is his
interested in
property.
Reading it.
Right, so the new property line's going over here.
It's good. Yeah. I don't know if I was
Yeah.
leaving. I was hoping
Is this gonna
earlier.
create a
But, yeah.
lot?
That's already a lot. That's already.
That's a
lot.
separate lot?
When you're reading.
Yeah,
private.
see, look at the.
And,
That's the property, that's the,
It was
the town
denied.
border.
It was denied,
Okay,
though.
so the town border is the property.
no, and then they.
That's the way I.
And then they appealed it,
For
so
that
is-
they're actually, we're doing the appeal now. So there's no.
And that's a good
decision from
question.
the court yet,
And I'm glad you brought the question.
And we were trying to figure out when,
whether it's adaptive.
And,
right,
Yeah.
Did mine.
and then Kelly was here that last meeting
No,
and
no, I
said
was
that
worried about that.
part of the same thing, but we're.
It's much better.
The girl, I had no idea what she said.
Yeah.
She was in agreement with all of us and she said that there's a considerable amount of
And then
ponding
when they,
that happens.
when they give us the decision, you guys will
She
get it.
provides photos
No
and
problem.
maybe evidence
Thank you.
that a lot of ponding happens here, which may
Yeah.
come down that driveway.
Right.
I don't know, but she needs to, provide the.
I'm just wondering where, you can see where
But I'm not comfortable.
this is the wet spot,
Yes, that is the wet spot.
okay? And I'd like to see how that drains out. Oops, it goes this way.
Yeah.
Chairman, have a good evening.
Probably goes into the street over here.
Yeah, it definitely does. So, yeah, I live on.